Cortes, and I'm a critic, and welcome. We're continuing our deep dive into the NFL draft, and now we're in Seattle, a Seattle team that I feel like is still not given the looks it deserves. But then again, what is there to look at? But they drafted some players, and this feels like a very Seattle draft class where there's a lot of players you hear, but then you feel like, um, I don't feel confident. So let's take a look at the Seattle Seahawks and see, did they get enough good players to make themselves contenders in a very heavily contender level NFC West. Seattle got a lot of picks and a lot in the 6th and late, so let's deep down to it. That I think a lot of people were thinking, I don't know who they were going to pick, what they needed. They needed a lot of help. So with the 16th overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks selected Byron Murphy II, defensive tackle, Texas. This guy, when he got drafted, I literally forgot about him, and I feel so ashamed. I was like, oh yeah, he was viewed as one of the top defensive tackles in your draft class. I totally forgot. But then again, in my defense, as arrogant as it may sound, very few times I don't look at the Big 12 and think, defensive player, first round pick, obviously. I can't think of the last great Texas defensive player besides Derek Johnson back in the day when he got drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, Michael Huff maybe? Like seriously, I can't think of a really good Texas defensive player that was this highly praised. Like seriously, if there's someone there in the comments, let me know. But I can't think of one on the top of my head right now besides Derek Johnson out of Texas, linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs. That guy was awesome. But Seattle had a problem stopping the run. That was one of the biggest Achilles heels, among other things. And getting the best defensive tackle seemed to be the most appropriate way to go. I am still not liking the 3-4 defensive scheme. I feel like Byron fits better on a 4-3, but and plus he's not even viewed as a day one starter. He's viewed as a backup to Draymond Jones. So we'll see. However, but he definitely gets a now pick. One, he's a first round pick. You desperately need some defensive line help. So we'll see how much noise he makes and how quickly he can contribute and how much can it be, a dominant force. I mean, I think in a perfect world, Seattle would like to have their own Aaron Donald, in that defensive line to the point where he is so formidable stopping the run. He's a captain and he makes quarterbacks scared. So we'll see how quickly he gets that, title of top defense alignment for that Seattle defense that is in need of, an identity return to promise. So they did nothing after that until the 81st pick in the 3rd round. And with the 81st pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks selected Christian Haynes, offensive guard, UConn. This guy was viewed as the top guard in the draft, and I am honestly going to say that no one was really looking at offensive guards until recently. I feel like offensive guard was viewed as probably the not so important. There was a lot of good centers in this year's draft. There's a lot of good offensive tackles in this year's draft. And honestly, it could just come down to that guards, I'm not going to call them lesser. That guard's so just important as anyone else in the offensive lineman. But I feel like everyone else was like, we are okay with our guard. We don't need to invest, especially highly on a guard right now. And Seattle just took advantage of that lack of desire, and they took advantage by drafting him. I am honestly quite surprised they went and got a guard. I always felt like they were more of trying to address more of the defensive side of the football. So I thought they were going to probably go more defense, maybe get another lineman to match up with Byron Murphy, try to solidify a young defensive front. But Hayes being picked up is not, to me, a bad thing. Now, Hayes, this is interesting. Because of his value, I thought he'd be higher, but according to ESPN.com the depth chart mock here, he is viewed as a 3rd rounder, or 3rd draft pick. I mean, 3rd on the depth chart. Thank you. So we'll see what he does in preseason, but he is viewed as the highly recruited, highly evaluated offensive guard in the draft. So I feel like this is just for now until he develops in preseason and it works his way up. But if somehow he doesn't become a starter, I still have him as a now because I feel like he was still too high and too highly viewed to be considered not a day one starter type thing. Now he may not start week 1, he may not start into it, but I feel like before week 7, before the halfway part of the season, Hayes will be a starter. That's how I'm feeling it moving forward. If he's highly praised, highly viewed in his respective position, then I believe that he should be able to develop quickly and get into the starting job before week 8. That's my thoughts anyway. Then in the 4th round, with the 118th selection in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks selected Tyrese Knight, linebacker, Texas, El Paso, or UTEP, if you want to be that guy. Because I was a guy who had no idea what Texas El Paso until I saw his jersey, and I was like, oh, it's UTEP, and I'm like, I am an idiot. So, they got one Texas guy. Let's get another Texas guy to what? Revamp that defense. And I am happy they went back to, because I swear they went back to offense again. Maybe got a running back. Please don't scare me, Seattle. I would have been like, they're not taking this draft seriously. Because compared to everyone else, you better get that defense squared away, because everyone else's offense is looking mighty dangerous if you want to have any chance of trying to sneak into the playoffs this year. So, looking at Mr. Knight to have currently as, part of the interior linebacking department behind Tyler Dotson and John Rothkin. So we'll see how much he can contribute. I'm going to put him as a later, because when a 3-4 defense, there's more linebackers necessarily needed. So injuries and playing time and special teams contributing factor will be part of it. But we may not see him in his full, light until, potentially later. Like maybe after week 10, you might see him get some of the playing time he deserves. But for right now, develop, learn, scout, and move forward. But I still believe that he will probably get some more playing time, not because of injury, but because of his skills. I'm going to bank on that he will develop soon enough that he'll get some more quality playing time and not just on special teams. That's how I'm feeling. Still in the 4th round, literally like 3 picks later, with the 121st selection in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks selected A.J. Barner, tight end, Michigan. Who? Okay, that's another dick move. I watch a lot of Michigan football because I was kind of rooting for the winner this year. And AJ was one of those people where for some reason, I'm like, my mind just goes blank. I'm like, who are you? I watch a lot of Michigan games this year, or last year. And I vaguely remember, most of the receiving core. It was always J.J. McCarthy, defensive dominance, and Blake. So, and Gus. No, and then Edwards, sorry. Was Edwards? Was Gordon? Anyway, it was always viewed, the Michigan offense in my mind was always viewed somewhere else besides the tight end department, as much as I would like credit for. But A.J. Brown is viewed as the backup behind Brown and Fance, so we'll see what Barner can do. I feel like Seattle of all teams might utilize the 2 tight end system probably more than we expected, even though they do run more of a 3 receiver spread with DK, Tyler, and Jackson Smith. So we'll see what they do, but this guy could be, that unsung tight end hero that they have done in the past in Seattle that will get some, receptions on a 3 tight end formation on short yardage situations, contribute. But as of right now and the way their receiving core looks, this might be a player where, they're there as an extra blocker for right now. Maybe a surprise action play on 3rd and 2, something like that. And we'll see. Preseason will definitely dictate us more on his abilities, but right now I'm feeling with Noah Fant still being the guy to go to, he might be utilized as an extra tight end for schemes and packages only. But later, we'll find out later how much more value he is later. Then we're going to go to the 136th pick in the 5th round of the 2024 NFL Draft. The Seattle Seahawks selected Naheem Pritech, corner, Auburn. Okay, now we're in, sadly, a category where I just feel Seattle, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like the next four picks just scream depth chart, special teams contributor, and maybe casualties. They may be too far on the depth chart to make an impact, that they might just be pushed to practice squad or might go somewhere else. Because as of right now, they have our boy from Auburn as the fourth stringer of the left cornerback department. So he's already projected to be that low down, especially when you have Devon Witherspoon, who was a great defensive back and a first-round pick last year, who proved his worth in his first year. That I just can't help but feel like, okay, so he's just as young of a player like you are, and he has proven, and you're a late-round pick, and sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. We'll see what he contributes on special teams. We'll see how he adapting the schemes on the preseason. That might be his way to get into the 53-man roster. But as of right now, he already has a big hill to climb. So that's why I'm feeling that he might just be like good, just not good enough. You are like an 85 and his guy is an 86%. That it might just come down to that type of close but no cigar. And he might make it as practice squad and keep working, developing. Or he might be picked up by somebody else. We'll see. Then we go to the 6th round, and with the 179th pick of the 2024 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks selected Satana Lamome, offensive guard, Utah. I am butchering all these names. I got a lot of food baskets to send. An apology for these names. Offensive guard, Utah. So, another offensive lineman to help keep that offensive line going, but also another player that's projectedly viewed as the fourth last spot on the depth chart. Boy, that's far, and that's why I feel like a lot of these picks just feel that a lot of them already project to be so far down the line that I just kind of have a feeling of there must be something that you feel this guy could be a starter, because I feel like that's what today's NFL, at least I'm believing it because of Brock Purdy, is that everyone believes that if you're drafted, you're projected to contribute and eventually start and eventually succeed with the team that drafted you. That is the hope of drafting these players from 1st to 7th, especially if you become like their 10th pick or 9th pick or something beyond the 7th pick they're given by default already. You must have some value that they can either develop, utilize, exploit, and put you into the position to help this team succeed. So yes, even though he is projected to be the 4th stringer of the right guard position, there has to be something there that says this guy could be good enough that maybe not this year, but he could be competing for a starting job, or be contributed definitely as a backup that we can rely on in case injuries happen, or packages that call for it, an extra lineman. So it's a big hill to climb, and I feel that I cannot say later because this guy might ride the bench the whole year, but he might be riding the bench way farther down the bench than he probably wants to, and he might just be a casualty of the 53-man roster, limitation. So that's why I have him as an else. He might have more success elsewhere than Seattle. Then we go to the 6th, we're still in the 6th round, mind you, with the 192nd selection in the 2024 NFL Draft. The Seattle Seahawks selected DJ James, cornerback, Auburn. So, two Auburn players got drafted. Cornerback positions. So, isn't this funny? You know what's kind of funny? DJ James is a corner, and he's not in the first 4 positions in the depth chart, according to ESPN.com. He is nowhere. And I can't even know if he's considered a right or left corner based on this depth chart. His teammate is 4th on the left side, but we already talked about Witherspoon's success. So if this does not feel like that the position of the cornerback is full, And DJ has to fight his way just to make the roster, at least get into the potential depth chart, reach of it. Special teams might be the way to go. We'll see how much he gets a chance to play during the preseason. He might get a lot of plays where his job is really just to avoid a receiver's block and go up to the running back, because preseason feel like they don't want to pass the ball that much towards the end of their games for whatever reason. Or sometime it just become that. We'll see what he can do, but he has a very big hill to climb. He's so low on the depth chart. He's not even on the paper. So DJ might be best elsewhere because he is just so far on the line. We'll see what he can do in the offseason. We'll see what he does in practice. We'll see what he does in preseason. But he has a massive hill to climb. And there's another pick where I feel like Seattle, you have a lot of corners already on your roster, and you drafted 2, and they're not even projected to be third or even backup. So why are we keep drafting? Is there other positions that need people, that need more attention to this than corner? Because your corner department looks already overbooked. And then the last pick in the 6th round for the Seattle with a 207th selection in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks selected Michael Jarrell, offensive tackle, Finlay. Okay, like I said earlier, level of competition comes to mind. But also, this guy is viewed as a potential 3rd spot on the depth chart. So at least he's projected to be, hopefully competing for the backup job in the right tackle department against George Fant. Like I said, this is all projected depth chart according to ESPN.com. This is not me speculating as much as just guessing and hoping and feeling and seeing what he can offer and develops. But offensive lineman injury is also very big. We'll see how much he gets acclimated into the offense in the preseason. Like I said, he's competing for the backup job. If he even has a chance for that, we will see. But see, this guy has more of a chance to potentially make the roster than I feel than the other 2 corners that got drafted ahead of him. And this guy is a 207 selection. The NFL is weird that way. That sometimes just because you got drafted first or someone else doesn't mean the person that got drafted after you and later doesn't mean that person can, surpass you and actually make the roster in his position versus you. But in worst case scenario, I still see him as an else. He might not make it this year. He might be viewed as somewhere else more valuable. We'll see. Maybe he'll rise the practice squad. But the last 4 picks of Seattle, I just have them. These guys are so low on the depth chart. These guys are so low in being viewed that I can't help but feel like, will these guys even make the roster? And I feel like if let's say half of these guys don't make the roster for whatever reason, then I feel like, did you maybe not focus on the right attention? I'm glad they didn't draft a running back. I mean, they went heavy on defense this time. But defensive line and offensive line was the big one, so we'll see. I mean, even their first guard didn't get viewed highly in the depth chart conversation anyway, so take that as you will. So that's the Seattle Seahawks. Where do I have them? They're not contenders. I hope that they'll be better, but better could be just the same as last year. The Seattle roster looks messy. It looks messy. The defensive side looks messy. I don't know how much confidence you guys have at Geno Smith. Then again, you have Sam Howell, who had a lot of passing yards, but not a lot of wins. So take that as you will, what you want to take with that. You still got a great dynamic receiving threat and a great quality tight end still. Walker's will be healthy, so we'll see where it goes from there. But for some reason, Seattle, this draft does not make me go up. It kind of makes me go, all right, so whatever you did last year, you'll do it again this year. Because the Rams and San Fran are going to be the top two-headed monster that I don't see you guys even trying to sneak in as a wild card. Yes, I give you guys a better, but I'm like better as in the same. Still missed the playoffs. Still have little inconsistencies. You're not terrible, but you're nowhere near could you consider a threat. So you might miss the playoffs just because everyone else just be a little bit more competitive than you are this year. And you might guys still win 9 games, but you guys might be just too low on the 9-game win column that you won't be considered playoff bound this year. So that's how I feel. And that is Seattle's draft class. Very, very, very dark and very sad. I'm sorry. So we conclude the NFC West by talking about the Arizona Cardinals as they got their finally brand new receiver. Yeah, they got a new receiver. Let's see how everything else looks with that new receiver. So until next time, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you very much for watching.